voice is getting creepier and lower as we go along. In episode 197, everyone. We've done 197
I know,
of these.
it's crazy.
I haven't been keeping count, but we've done a lot of these. We've talked about almost everything. You think we're out of subjects? Well, we might be. I don't know what the new subject's going to be. Forrest just told me before we got on the air that he thought he had a heart attack the other day. Do you want to open up about that?
Good segue.
Yeah.
First of all, I said my chest was hurting because we played golf, and every time the day after I played golf, my chest hurts. I'm like, well, I guess I'm having a heart attack all day again, which I'm not. But, I'm older. I'm out of shape. I haven't taken care of my body throughout time. So I periodically think I'm probably having a heart attack, and I'm not at all. And then I've had a couple panic attacks episodes over the years where I thought I was. And that happened about maybe a month ago. And I was like, that was with Bianca. And I said, maybe we should call 911. I think I'm having a heart attack. And she's like, really? That freaked her out. And then they show up. Fire rescue shows up.
Yeah.
By the time they showed up.
Forrest was up a tree. They had to get in there.
Nope. By the time they showed up, at least 2 or 3 minutes before they showed up, I'm fine. Everything's fine. I figure out what it is, but they're on their way. And there comes the fire truck at 10 o'clock at night. And a bunch of guys come in, and then I'm just like, yeah, I feel okay. They hook up everything to you, and you're just like, yeah, they're not going to find everything. And then basically, the guy's like, you're doing great. I mean, you couldn't be healthier. That's what the guy told me. I was like, well, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far. Yeah. But I'm sure they know that I know that I'm fine, and they know what's going, but they're just trying to be professional.
You guys accidentally just called fire people strippers, and they're like, you're great. You're in great shape. All of a sudden, they're taking their clothes off.
You couldn't be healthier. I don't know if these people are professionals.
Yeah, that's why I think they're strippers.
Yeah.
Like, that's an American fire truck, if ever I've heard one.
Yeah. I had a doctor tell me that 2 years ago. He goes, on paper, you look like you're 18 years old. And I said, well, in person, it looks like you eat a lot of mayonnaise.
Yeah. Oh, I once had a doctor at the height of my substance abuse say to me after a physical, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
All right. So what happens when fire rescue comes is like, well, we can take you to the hospital, but that's like when the charges start, kind of thing. And if you want, I was like, nah, I think I'm okay. Which you would never say if you think you had a heart attack. And they left, and it was embarrassing. Well, I live literally.
And then you actually had a heart attack.
No. I literally live next door to there's like a bodega corner store, and then there's like this taco kind of restaurant.
Yeah.
They come there.
The crime scene, as we call it.
These fire guys come all the time to that taco place.
It's because people are having heart attacks.
No, they park the fire truck out front, and I can see it, and then I can see the guys that I know, and I walk out, and I'm just like, ugh. And I'm sure they're like, there's the guy. Right there.
How you feeling, athlete?
It's like embarrassing. So I don't even leave the house when I see a fire truck.
Yeah. So what do you got for us, Jack?
Comment world.
All right.
Comment world, it's comment world. Jack, don't proofread in comment world. Comment world, insults are hurled, whether at Forrest or that other girl. And Jim will shit on you if you're getting too mean. Let's all play nice, let's keep it PC. Comment world, comment world.
Extended version?
5 stars only in comment world.
Jeez, that was long.
Yeah, wait, there's a couple guys in there, huh? That's a new one?
That's Kyle Mocha.
That's from the
him
presidents of the United States. Remember that band that used to just sing about peaches and think that was enough?
And
we'll go a lump.
Yeah.
And
She's
then
in my head.
Yeah, and then we'll do another one about cats going meow. And then we'll do a song about dune buggies. How did they never?
They were good.
Yeah,
we listened to them all the time when we lived in Canada. It felt like rebellion.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What, you lived in Canada? Every time it's like peeling up an onion.
You already knew that.
You lived in Canada.
Yeah.
You would have done all right in Canada. You would have been like the most cluey person there.
The most what person?
No, nothing. I'm just teasing Canadians.
We did have a lot of sex.
You had a lot of sex?
No, that's not what Jim was saying.
I know.
Like smartest person. Or
No, I didn't know what that meant, but I was just transitioning.
I like
You
Canadians.
say cluey?
Yeah, cluey.
Never heard that.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You've learnt one. Give us a comment.
But what does that mean, though?
Cluey just means smart. Means
You're
on the ball.
All right.
That's true.
We have a 5-star review titled "Saved My Marriage."
Oh.
My marriage is failing miserably, but IDCat keeps me going, so thanks.
For letting me leave to do the podcast once a week has really helped me.
Wait a second. They don't explain how it saved their marriage? Marriage is
guess
falling apart, but podcast keeps it together.
I guess it keeps them happy.
Yeah.
That comment came from Japan.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good. International. There we go.
This 5-star review only says binoculars. From the UK, I guess they want us to do an episode on binoculars.
Well, maybe they're like, I can see you.
Yeah, it could be creepier.
Yeah.
Easiest podcast to listen to stoned because things are always more funny stoned. 5 stars.
Yeah, we are good if you're stoned or on mushrooms. We're a very good podcast. Very good podcast if you're on those
If you're
drugs.
fucked up in any way, this is a great podcast
If
for
you're
you.
not fucked up, go listen to a real podcast where comedians are talking to each other about comedy all day. It's all podcast. Do you do comedy? I do comedy as well. How do you write your comedy? The same way you write your comedy. Do you ever have problems getting on stage? Well, sometimes when I'm on stage, I think about it. And then I had this other thing that happened to me whilst on stage, podcasting.
Sounds fun.
This guy says, I love the show and have listened to every episode at least once. 5 stars. I work on a farm, and I think y'all should do an episode on agriculture or fruit production or chickens or big pee-pees, whatever. It's a broad topic. Fun fact, there's a fruit tree called the pawpaw, and it's native to Pennsylvania. It tastes like a banana and mango mixed together, but also has big black seeds throughout the fruit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the big black seeds have to do with anything, but sounds like an interesting combo.
Or it could be a fruit that grows really readily in Australia that we eat on the regular. Pawpaw ointment is something that we all put on our skin. It's not rare to an Australian at all. It's like going to an American. Hey, there's something called corn.
I've never
Also,
heard
that was
of
just
it.
like a fact. That wasn't really a fun fact.
Yeah, his fun fact was
Wasn't anything fun about
there's
it.
a plant. Have you heard about the pineapple? It's sweeter than it looks. It looks aggressive, but it's a sweet fruit.
So we only get 5-star reviews?
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
It's pretty good.
Pretty much.
Wow,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
amazing.
It's good.
Everyone loves us.
Or at least Apple doesn't send us the non-5 stars, so we might be
No,
blinded.
you don't get read out if you're not 5
No,
stars.
I get all of those emails that I forward to you. I get every single review.
All right.
So
All right, help us out with a 5-star review if you haven't. It helps with the something or other. I don't fucking
yeah,
know.
we learned from
Subscribe.
Mike.
We're the
It helps with the algorithm.
160th most popular podcast in the world. Woo woo!
That's pretty exciting.
Here we are, worldwide,
Yeah.
for
Subscribe.
all podcasts.
Subscribe.
We're in the 1% finally.
Right.
Oh yeah, we're a 1%er. We're a 1%er. You can imagine how shoddily put together those other shows are. There's meant to be tens of thousands of podcasts, and this one's in the top 1%. Get the fuck out of here.
People loved Wayne's dinner party fact.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was saying it's the
Not
best one.
everybody.
That's true. At least the people who commented.
Yeah.
Someone said that flugel binders are actually called aglets.
Yeah, that's probably right.
And I looked it up. It's in the dictionary.
Yeah. All right. Good, Jack. Good. This is what I pay him for.
Yeah, comment.
All right. And that's all you got?
No, I got more.
Okay. You should probably say them out loud then.
Well, you guys were still talking. What did we do? Cut you off?
You were just in your head going, this was a comment.
This
This is also a good comment.
That was good. I'm glad I saved
4
it.
stars. Not reading that.
Someone says you say moon like mune, Forrest.
That I say moon, like mune?
Yeah, or he spelled it MEWN is how you pronounce it.
Moon.
Moon. I say moon.
Moon.
What
Moon.
episode was I saying moon?
I guess you said it on
Or the
autism for some reason. I don't know why you
I
brought
was
up the
gonna
moon
say,
on
I was gonna
autism.
say the
Yeah.
moon landing.
I think it would have
autism
been
makes
I think it would
sense.
have been moon landing or aliens.
Wait, in the autism episode, I was saying moon?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
At the 1 minute and 17 second mark, you said moon.
Yeah,
I
you-
might have
you
said
were like-
moon, like just for fun.
No,
but
no.
I'd say moon.
Well, that person goes, there it is again.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
saying moon like mune.
On the autistic episode, you went, I'm an autistic person who could count the moon really quickly.
I said
So you said-
moon. Okay.
There was like one moon.
Someone says I look like an unsuccessful Dave Grohl.
Oh, that's not true. You don't look like Dave Grohl at all.
Yeah, I know. If you looked like Dave Grohl, you'd still just look like Dave Grohl.
Mm-hmm.
How do you look like an unsuccessful Dave Grohl?
You look like Dave Grohl's body double in like a action film.
It's
if
like-
Dave Grohl was ever in an action film.
Yeah,
Or
get
if you-
stung by a bee.
if you ordered Dave Grohl off of Wish.
Oh yeah, that works.
Yeah. You look like if Dave Grohl was in a Russian doll, you're the shell above.
Everyone is like coming more into the final human form.
You know,
Yeah.
you look like if you bought like a skin of Dave Grohl and you put it over someone else's body,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like a person with a bigger, fatter head's body.
Okay, next.
You look like Dave Grohl. If someone's had a Halloween mask of Dave Grohl and they've stretched it out.
Okay, next.
Hey, one time
You
I
look
was at a concert and I used the porta potty after Dave Grohl, and he had taken a shit, and that's what you look like.
Okay, next comment. Why do all Australians sound like they're drunk?
Well, there's theories on this. Part of it's because, well, see,
they are.
I have been drunk in situations, and then sometimes I show up sober to things, or like I'm sober now, and people just like I'll finish a show, I'll be stone sober, then afterwards there'll be a comment going, "He was so drunk up there," and I'm just like, no, I don't know what it is. It's a Cockney accent that's extremely working class that's been put into a different country. I don't know.
And then also the alcohol.
Yeah.
the drinking helps
It's
too.
like g'day comes from good day. Good day, young man. Good day. And then we just got the criminals and moved them. And we're like, g'day. So it is, drunk Cockneys. That's the Australian accent.
We have some
You
fact
look like
checking.
if Dave Grohl was a virgin. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go back to
Yeah,
it.
if Dave-
No, I get that. That was clear.
Yeah.
Some fact checking. Wayne Gretzky didn't leave Edmonton. He was traded.
All right, calm down,
Okay, so
Dave.
he left.
It's just a joke.
He even cried during his final press conference. Someone said, I did some research and
Yeah, it was tears of happiness.
tears of happiness. On August 9th, 1988, the Oilers, just 2 months, actually, I'll leave that at the end. They traded Gretzky, Marty McSorley, and Mike Krushelinski
Okay, they
to
don't
the
matter.
Kings in exchange for Jimmy Carson and Martin Galinas, who I think were their first round draft picks. And so they did the trade, and everyone was like, "This is crazy! I can't believe they did this. You're getting rid of some of the best players ever." But then the Oilers won the Stanley Cup that year. So
You
I
look
guess it
like
kinda
if
worked
Dave
out.
Grohl spent too much time researching that.
okay.
Yeah.
Kelly, someone's really mad because you scoffed at someone being 5'5", so they're asking what your deal with short guys.
I scoffed at somebody being 5'5".
You look like Dave Grohl if he was a candle and he's half burnt.
You don't actually look like Dave Grohl at all. Think about it.
That was like my opening joke when we were in Phoenix.
What, that you look like Dave Grohl?
A little bit.
Oh.
No, you don't.
I remember that too.
Huh.
I don't know if you guys listened to
Well,
my
anyway, I'm 6'2", so 5'5" just seems very short to me. I don't have
Yeah.
a problem with people that are shorter.
You look like Dave Grohl if Dave Grohl's dad was trying to get a ring to Mordor.
All right, I don't have any more comments.
That's it for comment world.
Comment world's over. That's
so weird.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just read some ads.
All right, let's read some ads. We all shop online, whether you be Jack or someone important like Dave Grohl. We've all seen that promo code field taunt us at checkout. But thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes is a thing of the past. Honey is the free shopping tool that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one it finds to your cart. Honey supports over 30,000 stores online. I imagine it's probably 30,100 and something. Otherwise, it'd say over 32 or something. But 34,000 stores is a lot. Imagine you're shopping in one of your favorite sites, right? When you get to checkout, the Honey button drops down, and all you have to do is click apply coupons. Wait a few seconds as Honey searches the coupons it can find for that site. If Honey finds a working coupon, you watch the prices drop. Hey, you watch them drop. There they go down. Woo-hoo. Honey has found its over 17 million members, over $2 billion worth of savings. If you don't already have Honey, you you could be straight up missing out on free savings. It's literally free to install in a few seconds, and by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting this podcast. I never recommend something I don't use. I never would. I wouldn't either. Get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/IDK. That's joinhoney.com/IDK. Let the savings roll in. That's not the name of their slogan. That's not their slogan, but I try to add a bit of pizzazz to the end.
Great.
The savings are coming. Woo-hoo, that's the savings train coming your way. Honey. Fellas, Fellas, come here, boys, come here, the fellas. The sport of business means demanding excellence from your craft and wardrobe. Your fit needs to be versatile, blending timeless style with comfort so that you look as good as you feel. For that, there's Cuts Clothing.
I'm wearing my Cut shirt today.
Really, Dave? Oh, you look good. Wait a minute. That's not Dave Grohl. That shirt really made you look good. They've taken a classic men's fashion staple, the plain tee, and refined it, combining premium quality with a minimalist aesthetic. Cut shorts, polos, hoodies, and crew sweatshirts are made for the man who works hard. But he also plays hard, this guy. He plays hard, he works hard.
That's right.
And he never settles for less. All in the sport of business.
That's this guy.
For business.
Yeah. Built for performance in the boardroom, the bar, the gym. Cuts Clothing keeps you sharp wherever the game takes you. Take a plain tee. Take one. Have one. But then make it Tony Stark. The bleeding edge of fabric technology meets the man confident enough to wear it. Cuts Clothing. Cuts. It's not just a lifestyle. It's not just a clothing. It's an office leisure apparel for the sport of business. Get 15% off. That can't be right. Oh, it is.
No, that's right.
It is.
Yeah, that's
15% off your first order by going to cutsclothing.com/IDK. That's cutsclothing.com/IDK for 15% off. The only shirt worth wearing.
All right, now let's welcome our guest to the show. Please welcome Scott Whittle.
G'day, Scott. Thanks for being on the show.
Hi, Jim. Thanks so much for having me, you guys.
That's okay. We're now going to play.
Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Judging a book by its cover.
All right, so we're gonna. I reckon I know what Scott does already.
Yeah, but you got to ask some questions.
Okay, he's an expert in cats. He's got 2 cats behind him.
No.
Oh, well, that would be good. I like cats. we should do an episode on cats.
Well, we'll write that down.
They get AIDS, you know. They do, the cats. You're not an expert on that, are you? Let me think. Okay, your room's very nondescript. Scott, you're American, correct?
Correct.
All right. So he's not an expert on Australian history, right? Because I know that's going to come up one day, and I got to be ready to go.
It could be American, the person.
Yeah, they don't know anything about Australia. American Australian history goes Yahoo serious. Paul Hogan. The end.
Okay.
I will go. Okay. Are you a lecturer?
I have given lectures, but I don't do it regularly.
Okay. Is it about the human body?
No.
Oh, is it about the human mind?
No, not really.
Is it about an activity that humans do on the regular?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Wow, sort. Yeah. Now that'll throw you though.
Walking.
The actual subject that we're gonna say isn't a human at all.
Oh, isn't a human at all?
It might be a word that you call a human.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a good hint, actually.
It's a real good hint.
So we're doing one on shit. On little shit.
I've got a single hint in my picture, actually, in my background.
Oh, here we go. Pillows,
And
beds, fat cats. The top 1%, the fat cats.
That's not nice. That's his cat.
No, he knows the cat. I spoke before he came on. I said, "Oh, you got a big cat there?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's a big cat. It's a big cat. That cat looks like it's eating the other cats. That one."
Okay. It's an animal, and it's like
And
she said,
cats could eat them.
Birds.
and
Yeah.
birds.
We're about
There you go.
birds.
Birds.
Oh yeah, I know a bit about birds, man.
Yeah.
I know a
not,
bit about birds.
not the girls. Birds.
Yeah, I've met a few birds in me day.
All right. Scott Whittle is a bird expert and author, as well as a professional photographer. He lives and works in Cape May, New Jersey, one of the best birding hotspots in the United States. He is the co-author of the critically acclaimed Warbler Guide and Warbler Guide app. He is currently collaborating on Project Terra, which uses technology to bring people closer to nature while helping conserve wildlife. You can find all this information and more at scottwhittle.com. That's SCOTTWHITTLE.com. And you can find the Warbler Guide on Amazon. And Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself or the Terra Project or whatever you want to talk about?
Sure. I mean, that sums it up pretty well, but I'm a bird identification expert. I'm not an ornithologist, but I know a lot about birds. And I teach people how to identify birds and teach people how to take pictures of birds. And we're currently working actually on another guidebook for all the birds in North America. So I write and work on apps, and we also have this project that I'm working on called the Terra Project, which is a device you put in your yard that lets you listen to your backyard, but it also records sounds that get uploaded to the internet, and then those sounds get used to track bird migration.
Oh, wow. How can you be a cat lover and a bird lover? They're the enemy of each other.
I'm a rare breed. Yeah, I'm a very rare breed. I personally don't think they have to conflict, but some people do.
I had cats growing up, and the cats used to bring in like native birds and just dump them on the end of my bed, just like, there you go, bird. Like I once had like a magpie just squawking at me in 3 a.m, just like, and the cat was like, done it, nailed it, good day. They're menace cats, like to the birds. Anyway, I'm not going to labor on about that.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
They're great when they're inside, but they do a little damage when they get outdoors.
I have a lot of opinions on birds and how they're meant to be kept and all that type of stuff. I'm a bit hippie about birds, man. So that'll come out as the podcast goes along.
All right, we'll see. So here's what we're going to do, Scott. I'm going to ask Jim everything he thinks he knows about birds. I'm going to ask him some questions as well to help prod him along. And then after that, we'll come back to you and we'll have you grade him 0 through 10 on how accurate he was about it. 10 being the best. And then Kelly's going to grade him on confidence. I'm going to grade him on et cetera. We're going to tally those scores. 21 through 30, big bird. You'll be a big bird. Yeah. 11 through 20, you're a regular sized bird. Yeah. 0 through 10, the dumbest bird I've ever met. And let me tell you, I've met a ton of birds.
Yeah. All right.
That's what you'll be.
I've met a lot of birds, man.
Okay. First question. What is a bird?
A bird's a bird, man.
I knew you were going to answer it like that. But
a bird's a flying animal.
Yeah, not always. Some characteristics of birds.
Not always flying. There's flightless birds, such as the penguin and the emu and the ostrich.
Okay.
And the what's the other one in New Zealand? The kiwi is a flightless blind bird as well.
What are some other characteristics of them?
For most of them, wings. Wings is one of their big things. Feathers is another big one for the birds. A beak. They all have beaks, mate. They all fucking have beaks. You won't find one with a human mouth and go, that's a bird there. Beaks is one of their big ones.
Weird.
They all have eyes.
Okay, now you're just...
But the kiwi's blind. The kiwi's blind. Some of them are,
All right.
And I think the penguin's the only one that can swim. Oh, there's other ones that can like dive into the water and grab a fish and then fly back out and stuff like that. But for the most part, they're flying animals.
Okay. What percentage of all vertebrates are birds? Do you know what a vertebrate is?
A bird's a vertebrate as well. So what percentage?
Yeah. Do you know what a vertebrate is?
Yeah, it's fucking birds and shit, man.
No. Do you know what it is?
Shut up, Forrest.
It has a spine.
You don't know me.
It means an animal. It has a spine.
Get your own podcast.
I'm just saying, so you have the information to guess this on it. It has a spine. It means it has a spine.
It's fine. Yeah, we're one of those. Birds, 20%.
20% of all vertebrates. Mm-hmm. Okay. Are birds related to dinosaurs? Or is that a myth?
No, that's not. The velociraptors and stuff have much more of a bird-like skeletal type of way, and the way that they move with their legs and everything is more like a bird. With their talons.
Okay, so yes.
Yeah, they do. Right? Yeah, they do. Yeah, they have talons.
Okay. What is the earliest known bird?
His name was George.
I feel like we've talked about. Well, it might not be the earliest,
okay. So I'm going to say that the pterodactyl. They're going to say is not. I'm going to say that is a bird.
Okay, you can.
Oh no! Wait a minute. There's pterodactyls and bats aren't birds, are they? Bats aren't birds. Never heard of a bird flu, have you? Fucking bats.
There's a bird flu.
I know, that was the joke. That was the joke. Of course, there's a swine. I know about the different flus. That's where Angry Birds comes from. That's why they're killing the pigs with the swine flu and the birds are coming in.
The earliest bird might have been mentioned when Richard Dawkins was on the podcast.
Oh, it's a seagull.
It's a seagull. Okay.
There was some bloke walking around with a chip
Okay.
with some fries.
How did birds develop wings?
What do you do? They've got wings when they're born, man.
Like
It's not like a set of tits. Where
no. All right, next question.
Plastic surgery. They get some bigger wings.
they don't develop them. They've always got wings.
Okay, next question. We got this is a question for you. How long would your wings need to be for you to be able to fly?
Oh, for me to be able to fly. Okay, so your arm span is the exact same as your height. So I think it would have to be triple that. So triple your height. So 18 feet.
18 feet across?
Across.
Okay. I don't know the answer to that, but
That's a pretty good answer, man.
we'll find out. What is unique about bird bones?
They're crunchy. No, what do you mean? I've eaten enough bird bones. They don't look that unique. They look like bird. They're hollow, so that they can fly.
Okay, and so they can fly. Okay.
Yeah.
Do birds have lungs like we do?
Not like ours. There's a lot smaller.
That's good. Good workaround.
It was so good. Okay. I'm gonna go through some of these. We'll just mention as we're talking to you, Scott, because I don't feel
They
these
never
are-
able to fly with our lungs.
I was gonna ask you what a cloaca is, but you're not gonna know that.
No, it's a small town on the outskirts of LA where people are like, oh, it's just a small commute into my office. I like it out here. It's a bit more free. It's next to Topanga.
Cloaca actually has been mentioned on the podcast before.
Yeah. We'll revisit all the questions I don't ask too. But do all birds lay eggs?
Do all birds lay eggs? That's an interesting question. I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Yes, they do. I don't think there's any birds that just like vaginally give birth to anything. I don't even know if they have vaginas.
What about the birds who don't want to have families? And they keep getting pressure from their parents to have children,
No,
Mom.
but they're unfertilized eggs. They still lay eggs.
Oh.
That's what I've always thought about chickens, right? So chickens, we're eating their periods, right? That's what they are. They're just periods. And then like when we cook chicken, what's the best thing to have on a chicken salad sandwich?
Egg.
Mayonnaise.
Oh.
And that's just made from egg yolk and oil. So when we kill them and cook them, the last thing we do is rub them in their period. It's just such a real demoralizing ending for the chicken.
Why do birds migrate?
Scott's looking very confused.
Why do birds migrate?
To take jobs off the other birds. I knew it. To go up there and not learn the language and take all the jobs from the hardworking local birds.
Yeah. What bird has the longest migration route? Do you know, or how long is it?
I bet you their migration would have something to do with the warmth and the cold and all that type of stuff, and having to get to different temperatures so they can reproduce. It would be a reproduction migrate.
Okay. Do you might not know the bird that has the longest migration route, just the bird, but how long is it?
That would be.
Do you know where to where or how long it
there'd
is?
be a bird from the bottom of South America that goes all the way up to Canada.
Okay. And do you know why birds sing?
Because they're going to be a star someday. No, what are we
Birds
singing?
Got Talent.
Bit of fun. Probably there's some mating calls in there and stuff like that.
Mating calls?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Also like danger, don't come near me.
Yep.
Or just like, have you heard this tune?
Okay. How many songs does the average songbird know?
Well, it depends on the songbird, but I don't know if they know many of the modern songs, but most of them know all the Beatles back catalogue. and
they love Beatles. That's right.
They
eat
all love the Beatles. And they go, you ever heard the song Blackbird?
Okay. How do birds sing? Like, how do they produce the sound? And why can't we imitate them?
I just imitated him. Piece of piss.
How do they make the? How do they produce the sound?
Out of their vocal box. They would have vocal cords.
box?
They'd have vocal cords like the rest of us, a larynx and a thing. They would have like a little thing they have to, and also a lot of it's whistling through the beak.
All right, a couple more questions, and I'm asking you some fill in the blanks. Can birds sleep in flight? While they're flying, can they sleep?
Oh, they could have a short nap, but it's the same. it's the same way that I can sleep whilst I'm driving for a short distance.
Okay.
But you can't do it for an hour or something. You just put the Tesla in auto drive and then you have your little nap. Yeah,
Okay, and then do birds have penises?
Not all of them. I would say half of them.
What is the fastest bird? We've talked about this on the podcast.
That's the falcon in the Middle East, the racing falcon.
Fastest. But remember, there was one that's fast flying and then
Oh,
diving.
there's one that dives faster than everyone else. That one can go fuck itself. That one's just falling.
So the falcon is the fastest flying or diving?
It's the fastest diving.
What's the fastest is flying?
That would be hummingbird or something. I don't fucking know.
Okay.
I like how the hummingbirds just hover in the one position. That's like,
Yeah, they're almost bugs.
I love those things. So tasty.
Here, I got 3 or 4 more questions and some fill in the blanks. And then, how long do birds? Oh, how about this? What's the smallest and largest bird?
The largest bird would be some type of like it would be a emu or an ostrich.
Okay.
I'm going to say an emu's bigger than an ostrich, but that just might be Australian pride coming out here.
Yeah.
I might be wrong on that. It might be the other way. The smallest bird will be something like a hummingbird or something like that.
Okay. And then, how many birds survive their first year, like when they're born?
I'm going to say it's 60% mortality rate. So 40% survive.
Okay. And what birds are the smartest?
See, this might be a curveball, but you can say things like the parrots because the parrots can talk to you and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. Parrots, they're up for a chat.
Parrots, and
They live to be like 100 years old as well, or not 80 something years old. So you shouldn't buy a parrot if you don't think you're going to live that long.
like buy when you're
Because
young.
I was just in Hawaii, I feel so bad because they have the ones with the clipped wings and they put them in the cages and then they just sort of sit there and then a guy brings them out. And when they clip the wings, I feel bad for the birds. I feel bad.
What are you clipping when you clip the wings?
I think they clip like just the end of it, just makes them they can fly, but only like a couple of meters. They can't really get up there and go. It's like, if
We'll
they
ask
cut your
about that.
feet off, you could probably hobble around on your stumps a bit, but you wouldn't get a good run on.
Here, okay. How far can owls turn their heads?
It's 180 degrees both ways. They can't swing it all the way. Let's say 170. They can't get it all the way, but they get pretty close to doing all 360 by going all the way around.
Okay. We'll talk about owls a little bit. And then flamingos. You know what flamingos are?
Yeah.
Why are they that color?
Because they eat shrimp. It's from their diet that they become pink.
You got a lot of them wrong, but I think that one's close. I don't remember if that, but
It's
And then
close. That's the fucking right answer.
do any birds fart?
Ooh.
Yeah, the falcons when it hits top speed. That's when it goes Mach 5.
For nitrous oxide.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's 5 fill in the blanks, then we're done. A flamingo only eats with its head blank.
Correct. What do you mean? It eats with its asshole or under its wing? Yeah,
another word.
It eats with its head. Yeah, that's correct.
Ostriches have the largest blank of any bird.
What bird was that?
Ostriches.
Ostriches have the largest what?
Blank of any bird.
Oh, legs.
Legs. Okay. Hummingbirds have the largest blank of any bird.
Oh, attitude.
Okay. Owls blank.
Oh, no. The hummingbird is the most annoying of any bird. You ever been around someone who hums all the time? Oh, God, kill me. Just like, I brought your friend. It's a hummingbird, is it?
Okay. All right. Owls blank let them sneak up on prey.
Owls will let them sneak up on prey.
He's so good at Mad Libs.
Last one. Bird bones are different than ours because they are blank.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah, you can make it that. All right, Scott. Thanks for waiting there patiently. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being best, how did Jim do in his accuracy of those questions?
Well, I got to say, until the last few questions, he was doing great. So I would say I'm going to give him a 6.5, 7.
Okay.
7. Let's say 7.
All right.
7. What do you give him, Kelly?
I felt like a lot of the answers were wrong, and maybe they're not, but your confidence was top notch. I'm giving you an 11.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Thank you.
11. So that's
7-11.
It's a total of 18. I'm going to give you minus 12.
That's
And it's
unnecessary.
6, the dumbest bird I've ever met. And let me tell you, I've met a ton of birds. That's you.
It's hurtful.
Okay. Let's start at the beginning.
Don't
What
look
is a
at Dave Grohl
bird?
comments.
What is a bird? He said, bird's a bird. It's a
You look
flying
like
animal.
Dave Grohl if birds didn't like him.
Okay. That's from before. That's from earlier, Scott. Don't worry. He's talking to Jack. What is it? A bird's a bird, a flying animal. What are the characteristics of birds? Jim said they have feathers and beaks. They all have beaks. But what are we looking at?
I think if you're going to describe a bird, it's probably all about flight. So birds are animals that are specially adapted to fly. And although there's a few birds that are flightless, pretty much all of them can fly. And they've had to do a lot of physiological stuff to be able to do that. So, sometimes people say, I wish I could fly like a bird. Well, it would be kind of horrible because, first of all, you would have to reduce your weight by about 70%. And you'd have to do that by having hollow, possibly very, fragile bones. You'd have to poop all the time because you don't want to have anything in your digestive system.
Wait, so Jim is a bird.
You'd have a wishbone. A lot of birds have these fused bones together that are lightweight, but not only are they lightweight, but they're sort of reduced and fused. And I think all birds actually have wishbones. I think it's called the furunculum. It's called the little fork. And what it is, it's, at Thanksgiving, you have the wishbone where you break the bone and whoever gets the biggest end gets their wish. Well, the wishbone is actually a modified version of your clavicles. So your, what are these called? Clavicles.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're fused together on a bird. And so that creates the wishbone, and that lets them actually create a whole bunch of muscle mass there so they can fly. So it's a bunch of characteristics: feathers, bill. Actually, Jim, you got a bunch of them. Egg laying. And then there's a couple of weird technical ones, like they have a nucleated red blood cells. They have a nucleus in their red blood cells, which we don't. They have a single occipital joint at their skull, whereas we have two. And they also have a single ear bone instead of three. So a lot of little things. But basically...
You missed those, Jim.
Yeah.
Idiot.
I was right with feathers.
Yeah.
That's
Nailed
good.
it.
Feathers.
Right.
Flying. I said flying.
Beaks.
Beaks was a big one.
Yeah, you crushed
Beaks
it.
was a big one. Is there any featherless birds?
There are they're birds with very modified feathers. So there's birds like the kiwi, which basically looks like it has hair, but those are just really modified feathers.
Would you agree the reason the kiwi can survive is because there's no natural predators for it in New Zealand? It wouldn't survive in any other country, but like would you agree that New Zealand needs more natural predators?
For the people?
Like, no, they're
I
just
kinda like it
letting
without the predators, because you
letting
get all
a-
these cool birds. But
letting a blind, flightless bird wander around like it doesn't have a fucking care in the world. Society's got to fucking pick up on that and go, this thing should have had natural selection ages ago. It's our national
that's-
bird. It doesn't
that's
fly,
the amazing
cuntsie.
thing about natural selection. It's like with flight, you don't keep anything that you don't need.
Right.
So with birds, they got rid of all the stuff they don't need so that it could fly. And with species, they get rid of everything that they don't need so they can live perfectly in the habitat that they are without any extras and without too much or too little. They're sort of just perfect for where they are.
Right.
But
So,
yeah, you bring in a rat or a cat and it's all over.
so if you move like the Kiwis to Los Angeles, over time they would evolve and get other things they need, like vision and a car.
Boobs, ass implants.
You can't walk around this town. It's not a walkable city. You've got to drive.
Coke habit.
Okay. Living up in the hills.
Yeah.
Podcast.
What percentage of all vertebrates are birds? Jim said 20%.
Jim got really close on this. It's actually 15%.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
There you go.
And if you want to pull back to a really wide view, you could, I had this one other statistic. There's actually 1 trillion species of life on Earth. And that's more than the number of stars in the Milky Way. And there's 10,000 species of birds, which is 1/millionth of that. So it's actually a very small number when you look at the big picture, but it's a lot when you look at all the animals around that we can see.
So that movie, The Big Year, I like that film. Did you like that film with Steve Martin? And
I did. I like the book better, but I like the movie, and actually it inspired me to do my own big year in New York State. So I broke the record for the most number of birds seen in a year.
And what was that?
In a year in New York State one year.
How many did you see?
I saw 350.
Oh, but so the big like if you traveled like what is the
He's
most?
saying species, not birds, individual.
Yeah, no. How many species is anyone seen in 1 year? Because I know it's a thing like for birdies, right?
I think if you do a worldwide big year, someone just did one, and I think they got 4,500. I don't remember. It's either 45 or 5,500 out of the 10,000.
Wow.
But that is a major undertaking because you got to fly everywhere and go into crazy places. So
How do you prove that with photos, or is
The
it
movie,
an honor
you
code?
know, it's the honor system.
Oh, wow.
You got to be good.
Yeah.
that's right. It's for at least until now, it's been mostly the honor system. And it's too bad because there's been a couple of bad eggs that have sort of spoiled that. But for the most part, people are pretty honest
No
about
pun
it.
intended.
Yeah.
Now, when you did your big year in New York State, did it start like this? Pigeon 1.
Exactly how it started. Yeah, that's exactly how it started. Yep, it just gets harder and harder. Pretty soon you have 100, and then the pigeon doesn't count, and you got to keep looking rarer and rarer birds.
Yeah, a guy's cheating. He shows up 10,000. Got all 10,000 this year.
My father has a whole heap of birds that just visit him every day at the same time. He puts a bit of seed from out in Australia. Some rainbow lorikeets.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, they're sort of indigenous to where I grew up, in the part of Sydney I grew up in. And there's loads of them. There's 2 in particular that visit him every day. And then my father thinks cockatoos are menaces, which is funny because Americans think a cockatoo is such an exotic bird. But he's like, oh, they're bloody. They fuck up the wiring and they get onto your fucking antenna. And so my dad he doesn't mind the cockatoos, but he really likes the lorikeets. And he thinks sometimes the cockatoos fuck up the lorikeets' feeding time at his house. So my dad keeps a slingshot next to his chair, and he has the windows open, and he has little tiny.
I've seen it.
Forrest has seen it, and he keeps a little pile of pebbles on his bedside table. And then when the cockatoos are bothering the lorikeets, he shoots a rock at them. He's never killed one, and he goes, oh no, it just hits them and they fly away very quickly. They know when they've been hit with one. They always come back.
How does he know it's the same one coming back?
No, the lorikeets, because they're tame. Like you can almost, they're wild, but you could put your finger out and they kind of like nibble on your.
Yeah, Dad will have them sitting on his hand. Sometimes they'll fly in the house and they'll sit on his shoulder. He's like fucking Dr. Doolittle, man. and he's just sitting there, and wild birds fly into the house and hang out with him for a little while, and then they go away. And then like sometimes if it's colder and he's got the door shut, they'll fly onto the door handle and start tapping on the glass like, come on, Gary, come on out. And he goes, the bloody birds are bothering me, but he secretly likes it.
Yeah.
It's like, I wish they'd stop bothering me. And then, hello, how are you? And he's got names for them. He calls them Bubble and Squeak, the 2 of them. And so he shoots the cockatoos with rocks. If you don't know what a cockatoo is, if you're listening at home, a cockatoo is a big white bird with like a yellow sort of thing on the top of its head. Yellow crest. What would I call that on the top of the head? Crown?
Crest, yeah. Crest. And they have them. They have them as pets here all the time. You see them in people's pet store and stuff. Yeah.
When I went to Australia, which was the first time, like these birds are worth a ton of money in the United States. Like people would pay thousands of dollars for these birds.
Yeah, they're just hanging around.
Your dad's shooting with a slingshot.
I don't know. Have you guys ever been to the parrot roost? You guys are in LA, right? So have you been to the parrot roost there?
Is it like a parrot rescue type of place, or?
No, it's actually a neighborhood. I'm trying to remember what the neighborhood is.
Pasadena. They have the green parrots of Pasadena.
Oh, there's green parrots in Long Beach too, because I lived there for 6 years, and every single morning just swarms of green parrots. They're so obnoxious. Loud, right? Oh God, it was the worst.
They're kind of horrible to live with. Yeah,
they're terrible.
They're really amazing birds, and if you ever go to the jungle and see them flying around in their natural habitat, you see why they're there, and they're sort of perfect there. But when you get them into, an urban area, they're awful.
What was the story on that? Because I feel like I remember hearing that they were at some sort of like veterinary office or something like that, and like escaped, or like they got let out or something, and then breeded. Oh God,
that's exactly. We even have parakeets. Yeah, here in New Jersey, which is not where most parrots would be, but we have a colony of monk parakeets, which are just got out. Someone had them as a pet, and they started breeding, and they made it through the winters, and they live here now.
Here's one that I'm interested in. It seems like with birds that there's what percentage of meat eaters? Because it feels like they've got 2 speeds, birds. You've got I like to have a little bit of seed. I'm good. I'm going to eat your face when you're dead, right? You've got your vultures and all that type of stuff. Or even kookaburras are meat eaters. Kookaburras will get like the worms out of the ground. Yeah. But then those ones that just circle over you like, So what is it? Is it less meat eaters, more meat eaters? What is it?
It's actually easier to ask what birds don't eat meat or protein, because there are very few pure vegetarian birds. So if it's not meat, if it's not, a mouse or something or another bird, it's insects. So, and worms and that kind of stuff. So almost all birds, especially in the breeding season when they need the extra protein for their chicks and when they need the extra energy, will eat some kind of protein or meat. Yeah, some other living animal.
Are there what birds attack? Like I used to. I'll tell you a story. I had a magpie that used to bother me on the way to school. Right, I used to go to school, and this magpie, I think it was like it had babies up in a nest. But there was a way I walked to school when I was 8 years old. I used to walk to school. And I used to go by these magpies. These magpies used to dive and hit me in the head and try to peck at me. And I used to have to run and I'd be screaming. And that was my way to school every day, right? Anyway, so my father gave me an ice cream container, right? Like a big one, like a 2-liter ice cream container, not like a little tub we use these days. But remember when we had the bigger tubs, right? And so it was a square container. So he gave me that to me and I would put it over my head on the way to school so that when the things couldn't hurt me, the magpies couldn't hurt me. And then I'd dump it over, further away. And then when I was on the way back from school, I'd pick it up and put it back on my head and then I'd dump it on the other side. Is that normal?
That is normal, yeah. Actually, there's some birds that are, especially the smarter ones, are pretty good at defending their nests and attacking people sometimes, especially if they have a nest with nestlings in it, they can be really aggressive. So like magpies, actually, mockingbirds will do that during the nesting season.
Yeah, and they're also nasty with their words.
Yeah.
Yeah, very. There's not a lot of birds that will actually hurt you. Actually, probably the one people run into the most are swans.
Yeah.
Swans, they're just snakes with fucking legs, aren't they? Fucking swan, be a kid and try to walk up to a swan and get your cricket ball back and you'll know fucking all about it, I tell you.
Yeah, we used to water ski on this lake and the swan, if you fell near one of these big swans that had swans on the lake, they would come over and you'd have to hold up like the skis or the hydro or whatever you had and like defend yourself. The swans would come over and start coming over to like peck at you and stuff. It was like they're huge. Swans are huge.
I was playing golf once and my friend was chased by a swan trying to get his ball.
Yeah.
They're fucking nasty, they are, swans.
Yeah, especially when they have eggs or when they're protecting their territory. And they're actually our largest flighted bird in North America. So they weigh 30 pounds.
All right, I'll give you a quiz. Where do black swans come from in Australia?
In Australia.
Yeah. Where are they indigenous to in Australia?
I'm going to say Western Australia.
Yeah, it is Western Australia. That's the state national bird is the black swan. And that's why it's called the Swan River through the middle of Perth. And it has black swans in it.
Oh.
Swan Lager is the beer from there. It's all swan.
All right, let's continue on. Are birds related to dinosaurs? Is that a myth? Jim says, yes, they are related to dinosaurs.
They absolutely are. Yeah. Actually, they're related to theropods, which are kind of small dinosaurs, group of dinosaurs. And they're directly related to those. So birds are sort of living dinosaurs in a lot of ways. And dinosaurs, evolved into birds with, they evolved wings and feathers gradually, we think, for things like the wings would work, or the feathers rather work as insulation. And they also work as color signaling for, mate attraction or whatever kind of thing they're trying to communicate. And then we think that they probably developed the ability to glide like a flying squirrel. So as they got better at that, they got more specialized and eventually that developed into powered flight. So that's where birds came from.
Would you agree that the peacock is a useless bird? It's all show and no production.
I would agree that it's all show. Yeah.
What is the earliest known bird? He said a seagull. Seagull.
Bird is the Archaeopteryx, which is that sort of
Latin name
missing
seagull.
link bird. You guys may have heard of that one. It's sort of like a half lizard, half bird, has feathers on it that they found as a fossil. It's about 150 million years old.
Yeah, I told you, Richard Dawkins mentioned it on our podcast.
I can't remember things that
and we
been
did
told to me.
and then we did the follow-up quiz about the
we said
Archaeopteryx.
Archaeopteryx several times on this show. There's a lot of things that
He looked like Dave Grohl if he had hollow bones.
Yeah.
Thin skin.
Can I go back to peacocks for 1 second?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
There's a really interesting thing about peacocks, which is the people have always wondered how a bird would develop such an elaborate set of colors and patterns.
Because it's fabulous.
That's one possibility. I think another one, though, is that it's evolutionarily, it indicates that evolutionary pressure is not just about survival. And this is it's not controversial, but there's controversy about how much of an influence this is. But there's a great book called The Evolution of Beauty. I think that's what it's called, by Richard Crum. And it's a great book, and it talks about how birds and other animals may look pretty because the member of the opposite sex likes it that way. So the mating pressure is actually applied by their mate, not by survival. So usually if you ask people, they say, survival of the fittest, but this is actually, these kinds of like really elaborate displays may actually be created because the mate selection actually selects out the males that aren't interesting enough. And so they sort of drive them toward this crazy ornate displays and ornamentation.
So peacocks are humans.
Yeah, so when a peacock does its full feathers like that, she's asking for it. Right?
Jack, you look like if Dave Grohl was a peacock.
All right.
Yeah, he's very upset, Dave.
Yeah, upset, yeah.
Mr. Grohl, sorry.
How did birds develop wings? I'm sorry, you're done with the peacock.
No, also, we're still on the peacock. Are they indigenous to Australia? We seem to have a lot of those. Or did some rich English person go, bring a peacock out? Yeah.
Peacocks are indigenous to Southeast Asia, I think, in India.
Yeah,
I think like the foothills of the Himalayas and places like that.
They're all throughout South Florida.
They're all over.
Yeah, and so they're just on people's roofs and like just. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, if you want to be successful as a bird, get interesting to people. So if you want to ask,
write that down,
Jack. What's the most successful bird species? Is the chicken, because chicken are probably the most popular. Well, not the most populous, but they're certainly the most successful and widespread bird around the world. Because of people.
Yeah, are they successful at getting murdered?
Yeah. We got murdered more than any other bird. We're the most successful. Look at you, dodos. No one there. We went extinct, unsuccessful bird.
You kind of talked about a little bit. How did birds develop wings? Jim said they were born with a man.
Nowadays they are. Yeah.
But you talked about that a little bit with the dinosaurs.
Yeah, they basically probably evolved from gliding and, develop some skin between your armpit and your arm, and then you can jump a little further in a tree.
I've developed a bit of that skin during COVID. Just a flap that's going down.
Jim says 18 feet across. That's how big his wings would need to be for him to fly.
Okay, I love this one. My wife and I went to the Cincinnati Zoo, and they have a great display where they show you what would happen what you would need to be if you needed to fly. And so I weigh about 200 pounds and about little over 6 foot tall. I would need to have wings that are 120 feet wide.
Okay, that's how much I need then.
That's about your same.
I'm a little bit more than 200 pounds as well, so I need 140 feet.
Some big ass wings. Yeah, those you can't get through doorways with those.
Yeah. And just
imagine the kind of muscles you need to go with that too. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, I don't think would be able to move those.
And I need my wings to also be able to carry some in and out. Otherwise, what's the purpose of this being able to travel?
Yeah.
Always like people like, what superpower would you have? I'd like to be able to fly. Well, you can't solve crimes just by flying. You can't fly up to a crime scene really quickly and go, all right,
I'll circle around you.
I got here quick. You need it in conjunction with power.
Yeah, that's true. Never thought about that. What is unique about bird bones? He said they're crunchy and also they're hollow so they can fly.
Yeah.
I think the hollow part was
they're crunchy because they're hollow,
Yeah.
They're either hollow or oftentimes they have these struts, like these sort of like angular supports inside them, but they're not basically solid like ours. I mean, we have this spongy middle, but ours are a lot more solid because everything needs to be super lightweight. That's the whole idea with birds, is as light as possible.
Yeah. And do birds have lungs like we do? He said they're a lot smaller than ours. What about their lungs, I guess, are unique or
proportionally they're actually bigger than ours. And actually they have lungs just like we do, but they also have a couple of like airbags called air sacs that they use for sort of a continuous breathing thing that goes on, so that they're extremely efficient with their oxygen and waste exchange. So that way they can really oxygenate their muscles, because again, like they're sort of like little Olympians, they're using their muscles to the absolute maximum. So they need the most amount of oxygen, the least amount of weight, the most amount of energy per amount eaten, that they can expend and so on so that they can fly. So yeah, they have very, very efficient lungs. And actually, that's also important for their singing, which I'll mention.
And it helps that they don't smoke.
I'm looking forward to the penis question.
You never see a smoking bird except maybe in a restaurant.
I'm going to say they don't have dicks like in the regular form.
We can jump ahead. I have them all listed.
The only reason is because I know how big my wingspan has to be because I'm not streamlined, you see. I don't have the biggest dick in the world, but if you got me naked and I was flying, that would fucking ruin the flight. Just a scrotum hanging down and flapping along. So I'm going to say
it would ruin my day.
I'm going to say no external penises. They can probably bring out their little red rocket like they do. Like, in dogs, you go, oh, what's he happy about? And he's got his little red rocket out. Looks like a lipstick.
You are 100% on the money, Jim.
Oh, thanks. Man.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, the little red rocket.
Almost no birds have penises, and that's because or very few birds have penises, and that's because they get in the way. Yeah, in flight and in all the other stuff. Again,
getting along with people.
So that brings us actually to what a cloaca is, which I think was one of the questions, right?
Right there. Yeah, we're right on there. Yeah. Cloaca.
So some birds, by the way, do have penises. So ducks and waterfowl do. And we think that they do because they need to mate in the water. And so they need to have some way of protecting the sperm getting injected into the vagina so they can fertilize the egg, and they need to have some kind of mechanism for that in the water. But birds that aren't water birds, they have something called a cloaca, and a cloaca is basically a universal all-purpose hole. So they can inject waste from it, they can lay eggs with it, and they can reproduce through it. So
you look like Dave Grohl's cloaca.
It's a callback again to Jack. You're confusing Scott. It's a callback from earlier. But.
You look like Dave Grohl's all-purpose hole.
I don't know if Jack said or not.
I heard ducks have corkscrew dicks.
Do they? He said, I heard ducks have corkscrew dicks. Is that a thing?
That is true. Yeah, ducks have corkscrew dicks, and the female vagina is actually equally sort of bizarrely shaped, so that the male duck, if she actually doesn't want him to fertilize her, the ducks are very, it's a whole nother topic, but ducks are basically rapists. They
most animals,
sex with them, and which is sort of horrible and hard to.
I'm glad we shoot them.
Yeah, especially those. If you see those ducks at the pond, they certainly don't seem like that. But the female actually has all kinds of this sort of elaborate mechanism of chambers. So if the male duck attacks her and fertilizes her, she can actually divert the sperm into sort of a dead end. And
why can't we do that?
Do you eat birds?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm sort of a vegetarian since COVID. My wife's a vegetarian, so we've both been, we both basically just been eating vegetarian. But yeah, I love duck. I love chicken.
Yeah, and you're doing the right thing by eating ducks. They're rapists. We should be taking them off of the streets.
Bad with those guys now, exactly.
Yeah.
And chickens are just a bunch of simpletons.
Fucking assholes. They're very successful.
Yeah, very successful simpletons. Oh, we've done well. Chicken empire.
We already talked about wishbones. Do all birds lay eggs? Jim said yes.
Yes, they do. All birds lay eggs. Another thing that they're doing so they can fly, because if they can't carry a growing fetus inside them because it adds weight.
Oh, I thought maybe they just vomited it up or something. It wasn't all about laying. How many chickens are on Earth? Because I have a lot of theories on this, and it's upset me.
I'm surprised you haven't brought this up sooner.
I was surprised too.
Jim has a thing where he thinks that there's not really this many chickens.
Okay. I eat at least one whole chicken a week. Right?
Yeah.
I think the average human would do at least a chicken breast and a wing or something a week or something like that. Then you had your vegetarians, 7 billion people on the planet. Let's say that 6 billion chickens are being eaten a fucking week, right? And then you got to have all the ones in stockpiles and the ones in the whatever. By my calculations, we need about 60 billion chickens at any given time to feed the people. I just don't see any chickens. When I walk around, I just never see any.
You don't see them in your neighborhood.
And I'm bumping into people all day. I'm in roads where there's traffic and there's never a truck in front of me filled with chickens.
Yep.
You know, where's the chickens? Where's the chickens? It's a fucking scam. What are we actually eating?
What do you mean it's a scam?
It's a conspiracy. There's no chickens. It's some other big animal that we're cutting down.
Okay, and where's that animal?
Yeah, we're not
I'm
running
with
into
Jim
that.
on this one, actually. I don't see chickens around here either. So I think the numbers.
Yeah, where are the
You've got an
chickens?
ally
There's
now,
got to
Jim.
be 60 billion. There's got to be 60 billion chickens on Earth. Where are they, man? Where are they?
Our worldwide bird population of wild birds is about 400 billion, 200 to 400 billion.
And
So that would-
chickens number one. Chickens number
They're
one.
not wild. Chickens, no, he's not saying wild birds is 400 billion.
400 billion. Yeah.
Yeah, chickens are like in coops and pens and
Right. How many?
Yeah.
How many? Have you ever seen a wild chicken? I've seen like one in like Mexico, like walking around the street.
yeah, it's
But I
still,
don't think that was wild. I think it just got out.
Yeah.
it's still domesticated though.
But,
Yeah.
You have to go to Southeast Asia. That's where the chicken originated. And there's a bird called a jungle fowl. And it looks just like a rooster. And that's where all the chickens come from.
Oh, I thought a jungle fowl is when you shit in the jungle and you didn't have any paper with you. Jungle fowl.
Would you spill your beer in the jungle?
Jungle fowl.
Okay. Why do birds migrate? Jim said to take jobs off other birds, but also to find ideal weather for procreation. So
Go with the first one first.
It's more like actually taking on jobs that nobody's taking. So they go up to like Canada, for example. A lot of
Build
birds.
that really high wall.
That would be a heck of a wall. They go up there because in the summertime there's a lot of unused territory because birds aren't there year round, so they can get up there and get in spots where no other birds are. And there's a ton of biomass there, so they get lots of bugs and all kinds of food to eat. So it's a great place to raise your kids because you don't have as much competition for food or for space.
Oh, it's not for weather, it's for food.
Well, it's for weather because they can't stay there year round. So like, when the weather turns, it gets cold, they have to come back again. But each spring when it warms up again, they're back.
Right.
So a lot of the birds that we think of as ours, like I wrote this book called The Warbler Guide. That's all about these little colorful birds called warblers that a lot of birders like. So these guys are small songbirds, and we see them in the spring, and then we see them in the sort of during the summer, depending how far north you are, and then you see them in the fall. But they spend most of their lives actually in the tropics. So they live, way up in Canada, and then they'll fly way back down to even Brazil or those areas.
That's what I said.
That's right.
You did well. You did well in a lot of these. Okay.
Yeah.
What bird has the longest migration route? How long is it?
So that's the Arctic tern. And actually, Jim, you got that one just right, too, because they fly from Greenland to Antarctica and back every year. And they do this figure 8. So it's a 56,000 mile journey that they take every year.
And do they take that with their kids?
And not with the kids. No,
Oh,
the
okay.
kids. Well, this is the thing about birds is if you see a bird that can fly and it's not a duck or a goose, it's probably full grown. You can't really tell. I mean, there's ways to how old they are, but like birds basically get full grown really fast before they leave the nest. And then they're the same size as the adults. So but these birds do this every year they live for 30 years. So that means that they do like maybe 2 to 3 time round trip to the moon in their lifetime.
Mm.
Wow.
A lot of energy, Tex. Yeah. So why do birds sing? Jim said because they're going to be a star someday. He said mating calls, bit of fun. Danger, danger, don't come near me. Have you heard this tune?
Yeah.
All of those things.
They're good answers.
Even the have you heard this tune, because there's these birds called mimics that sing other bird songs. And we think that part of the reason they do that is to impress the females by showing them how many songs they know. So yeah, you got all those things right.
Yeah.
They're just the
Birds-
guy that shows up to a party with a guitar.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard
Right,
this
exactly.
That's me.
one? Fuck.
Exactly.
So
And they sing,
mating and then
1,000 songs.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
and like so mating, territorial, things like that, right? That's what we're saying.
Yeah, mating territory. They also do it. They make these little sounds called chip calls, these little chips and chirps. And one bird, they actually did a study of brambling, this bird in England, and they had, I think, 12 different chip calls that all sound pretty much very similar to each other, but they mean things like danger above us, danger below us, I'm on a nest with eggs. I'm on a nest without eggs. I'm, sort of contact calls. Like I'm over here. I'm over here. So they actually mean all kinds of stuff.
Mm. And so how many songs does an average songbird know? Jim said the Beatles back catalog.
It's a big catalog.
Excellent answer. The actual answer is probably about 5, but some birds can sing as many as 1,000 songs and other birds just have 1. But most birds have like few territorial songs, one mate attraction song, and then they have a bunch of little chips that they do like what we call flight and contact calls.
That's about the same as people.
Yeah.
There's one bloke who knows 1,000 songs, one bloke who sings one song when he's drunk.
Yeah, one song you know really good.
Yeah.
Your karaoke song.
Yeah.
And then some sounds you make to your mate that you're like, sex. And so why can't we imitate, or we can't imitate them, or how do they sing? Or can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. The really cool thing about birds singing is they actually have 2 voice boxes. So they can actually make 2 sounds simultaneously. So some bird songs we can imitate, like a cardinal, those kinds of sounds. But some sounds, like starlings, make sounds that just sound electronic or alien. And it's because they're actually making 2 sounds at the same time. Whoa. So it's sort of, when people do that throat singing, where they're sort of singing and humming at the same time. Mm-hmm. That's what birds do all the time.
What, singing and humming?
Yeah, because there's a hummingbird, the species in my yard, and it sounds like a laser almost. It's like this.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's incredible sound. Yeah.
One really cool thing about that is if you hear a bird, sometimes you'll hear a bird sing a song, and it'll sing a song that goes or like a long up or down. Oftentimes they're doing the first half of that with one voice box and the second half of it with the other voice box.
Show up.
And if you hear a young bird learning how to sing, it'll actually mismatch it and you can hear the gap in it.
Oh, okay. And then sleeping. I didn't ask if birds sleep. I just said if they can sleep in flight. And he said they could have a short nap, Jim said.
Unihemispheric slow wave sleep, which means, they can sleep while they're flying. They actually turn off one half of their brain. A lot of birds actually sleep sort of.
Well, dolphins do it, don't they? They can swim and sleep or something. Yeah. They can do half and half.
Yeah, exactly.
Dolphins are not voluntary. They're voluntary breathers. They have to think about breathing, so they have to have half their brain on at all times. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that part.
And birds are very under a lot of predatory pressure a lot of times, and they sort of need to know what's going on. So you really don't want to go into a deep sleep. So a bird will sit on a branch. And actually cool thing about that is when they sit down on the branch, they have a little locking mechanism in their claw that actually locks them onto the branch. So they don't have to hold on to it. It's just automatically locked on so they won't fall off. And they sort of keep half their brain awake. So that way, if anything happens, they're sort of immediately awake and can do something about it.
When you said most of them do eat meat, am I allowed to just feed a bird a bit of hot dog or something? Or is that not, you don't do that?
Don't do that. Unless you have I think like crows and ravens and those kinds of birds will eat raw meat, and any big bird like a hawk or a vulture obviously eat meat, but with smaller birds, probably not. They would love some bugs or mealworms or something like that.
Is it good to give seagulls chips? Because I must have given 1,000 seagulls a chip in my life. Has that been hurting them?
Yeah. We have a bad thing here. I'm in Cape May, New Jersey, which is like a Victorian seaside town. Yeah. So we have these beaches, and we're about 10 miles from the biggest, or 15 miles from the biggest laughing gull colony in the world. So like 100,000 laughing gulls come there and breed every year. And they get to the beaches, and you can tell the people who are new to the beach and who have been on the beach, because the people who are new to the beach will put their food more than 3 feet away from them, or they'll hold something up in their hand, and the birds will actually come up behind you and pull it right out of your hand. Or if you have something on the ground, they'll grab it and take off with it. So,
when I first took Kate to Australia, I took her out to get a doner kebab, which is an Australian delicacy. But it's it's like a gyro, but it's more rolled type of thing, more Lebanese style than Greek. Anyway, she bought it and she walked out, and a bird just came and took a seagull just came and took a big chunk of meat right out of the top of it.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to eat it anymore. I finished it. I wasn't worried about that. Is that bad for me to finish it? Can you get diseases off birds very easily?
Technically, probably not great. You might want to tear the part off that they ate. That movie Contagion starts with something like that. So yeah, I'd be careful about that.
Oh, shit. I'll just stick to bat then.
But for the most part, you're pretty safe. Yeah. I think.
Sorry.
Yeah. No.
What is
the gulls are totally generalists, so they'll eat anything. They'll eat meat. They'll eat garbage. They'll eat bread. They'll eat everything basically. It's part of the reason they do well.
But it doesn't hurt them, because if you ever go like to where the San Francisco Giants play, that's right next to the water. And at the end of the game, when people are leaving and the Giants have been slammed by the Dodgers, right?
Yeah.
You're sitting there, it's just seagulls are just like fucking. It's time, boys. And it's just like they're eating half hot dogs and shit.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck. They're like, game's over, but our game begins.
Yeah, Jack and I had lunch at a place in Malibu like 2 weeks ago, and it was just all open air, obvious, because it's patio. And there were massive like martini glasses full of calamari was an appetizer there, and the seagulls were just like dive bombing these people's tables. And so I was just like secretly recording.
There was still a tarp overhead, so we don't know how they were. They're like there was like little tiny holes in the roof, and they were just shoot in. It's crazy.
I tell you, there's nothing worse than when you get a bird in your house and you're like, how did this thing get in here? And you're trying to tell it how to get out. You don't want to be here, just sitting there looking at you.
You open all the windows.
Open up all the windows. You idiot, get out.
In some cultures, that's a sign of death. I mean, somebody's
shit.
Well, I had killed some people that week.
What is the fastest bird? Jim said racing falcon. Falcon?
Basically, there's the Amur falcon and peregrine falcon. Peregrine falcon, like you said, it dives at 260 plus miles an hour. Woo. But in a straight line, there's and I'd say the difference between diving and falling is diving, you can do more than once. Falling, you only get one shot at it. With straight flight, the swifts, there's a needletail, which is a kind of like swallow swift bird. They can fly at about over 100 miles an hour in a straight line.
Wow.
Damn.
My mother used to do a lot of needle tail when I was a kid. Made me some sweaters.
Smallest and largest birds, he said an ostrich, emu or ostrich, and hummingbird is the smallest.
Ostrich, I'm sorry to say the ostrich is the larger of the two.
All right. I'll take it. Which one's faster? Which one's faster runner, the ostrich or the emu?
I'm going to say, I'm sorry, but I'm going to think it's the ostrich.
Fucking stupid.
They may not be. I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, well, I think the emu oil helps with the arthritis more than the ostrich oil.
How many birds?
For either of them, I bet, like the ostrich can run like 30 miles an hour for long periods of time. Like they're super fast.
Yeah. How many birds survive their first year? He said it's a 60% mortality rate.
That is actually pretty close. It's actually something probably like 50% mortality rate. Yeah. With some birds, like cardinals, they have a 70% nest failure. So that means they lose, 70% of their birds before they even get born. So, the number of birds born and die is sort of hard to wrap your mind around. It's in the billions every year. So we have in the US probably between 10 and 20 billion birds, and the mortality is probably, I know that just mortality from different sources like window strikes and predation and that kind of stuff is something like 4 billion of that. So there's just an incredible turnover.
Did you just say window strikes?
Yeah, window strikes. Like
when you have a too clean a window and they fly into it?
That happened to me once.
Yeah, that happened at school, man. I remember this teacher was like, have you all got your assignments? And I hadn't done my assignment. And I'm sitting there going, oh God. Then bang, a window hits the thing. The bird hits the window. And then that buyed me a bit of time.
To get the assignment done?
No, I didn't hand it in for another 10 minutes. I felt relaxed for 10 more minutes.
That bird helped out, huh?
I was in high school and I had a crush on this guy I worked with. And so I went to a party at his friend's house the night before and we slept outside on the patio.
She wasn't invited.
Yeah.
That was the front patio.
I was just outside knocking on the window like, let me in. But we slept outside because there was like a pull-out couch and the bird flies into the window. I wake up to this noise and the bird's like struggling on the floor and there's a baseball bat. I was like, should I put it out of its misery? But then I was like, if he wakes up and I am beating a bird to death with a baseball bat, that's not going to be good. So I let it suffer. I'm sorry.
Well, sometimes they'll recover. Yeah.
He was
Sometimes they do
pretty
actually-
bad.
You know what the best thing to do if that happens is put them in a paper bag.
Oh.
So that way the
Well,
bird
again, I
gets
wasn't invited in, so I didn't have access to paper
right.
bags.
If you didn't have a paper bag handy, you were in trouble.
But wait, why
But
do you
yeah,
put
a
them?
lot of times, you're right, they'll recover. They'll sort of like get their wits about them and then they'll take off in 20 minutes later.
But why the paper bag? What was?
Just because it's quiet and dark. And one of the
Okay.
things you don't want to do is stress them. So you don't need to feed them. You don't need to give them water. They don't need anything like that. They just need quiet and dark. And actually, there's a really interesting response that birds have. If you put them in a paper bag, or actually when people are catching hawks and falcons, they put them in tubes, like a mailing tube, and they just stick the bird in there temporarily, and the bird goes totally still. And they've actually measured their pulse rates and all that kind of stuff, and they get completely relaxed in that situation. And then they take that's so that they can band them, and then they take them back out and let them go. It's not just for fun.
And another bonus is if the bird doesn't survive, you already have lunch ready
That's true.
That's
to take
I
to
also-
work with you.
I also wouldn't want somebody to wake up to me stuffing a bird in a mailing tube either. So I guess it's fine
Is
that
that
I
why
just left them there.
magicians can keep like pigeons in their jackets? Because the pigeons are actually really calm in the dark spots.
Ooh.
you know what? That's an excellent point. I never thought of that, but I bet that is why.
You look like
No,
if
it's
Dave
not- it's
Grohl had a
not-
really good question
It's
about
not
magic.
pigeon.
Yeah.
It's not pigeon. They're doves. And doves can you can hypnotize them. You can put them under their wing and make them sleep, and that's why they use doves in magicians, because they've got them shoved all through their outfit.
Yeah.
I always think that it must be the most unglamorous thing right before a magician, because they always do the birds in the first 20
Stuff me.
seconds. They're like, get the birds out, get the birds out. Right? And it's always doves, which is lucky because the dove is a beautiful bird, but they put it there because it can sit docile. It's the same reason they let it out of things at the Olympic Games, because
Yeah.
they'll all sit there very quietly. But it's like right before they go on stage, they must be just like, oh, shove a fucking dove up here. Put one in me
What's the difference
armpit.
between a dove and pigeon?
What, a dove and a dove's a white bird, and a pigeon's
I thought
a
they were
sort
like
of
the same
a
breed or
grubby
something.
sort of grey type of. No, they're not the same animal. No. Well, they're the same animal.
Yeah, they're two kinds of birds. Yeah, they're two different birds. Although sometimes what people call doves are actually just white pigeons, but there are two total.
I think that's maybe
That's
what I'm
right,
thinking
because magicians always use doves. I reckon if you want to blow my mind as a magician, you fucking go out there and show me some other birds, man. I want you to come out and go, hey, and the magic wand, poof, dove. And I'll be like, oh, it's all right. I've seen it before. Dove, dove, dove. And then I want it like, whoosh, eagle. And then I just want him to like shake his leg and be like, penguin, penguin, penguin.
Penguin, yeah. Wow,
Happy
it's
feet.
bulky.
And they start waddling around on the stage. And I'm like, this is a good fucking show.
Here's a good bird you could use, an owl. Okay, so Jim said they can turn 170 degrees their head. Is that correct?
Each way.
Actually 270 each way. So they can turn 3/4 each way.
Oh, golly.
And they have this, part of the reason they do that is because their eyes are actually sort of tubular shaped, which gives them like this sort of extremely good telescopic vision. But it also means that they can't turn their eyes in the eye sockets very well. So that means they have to turn their head if they want to see in that direction. They can't just look sideways like we can.
So they go 270 each way.
Yep.
Wow. All right. And then flamingo gets its color by eating shrimp. Was that correct?
That is mostly correct. Yeah, the zoos a lot of times will feed flamingo shrimp, but actually the flamingos that are the brightest color, it's actually from the algae they eat. But the material, the carotenoids is what's in it, and it's the same stuff. It's actually the same stuff. If you ever take those tanning pills, it's actually the exact same stuff, and it'll turn your skin orange. So
Tanning pills.
Tanning pills.
I've never heard of that.
I don't think that's a good thing to take.
Probably not.
It'll turn your skin orange.
Yeah.
Good.
Do any birds fart? Jim said yes, falcons when they hit top speed. Is that?
well, so as far as I know, birds don't fart. And part of the reason I think this is because from what I've read, but also birds don't have a sphincter. So, or they have a very modified one. So it's very different from people where you can sort of hold stuff in. Birds can't hold. If you ever heard the term shit through a goose, like shit through a goose, it's the same.
Loose
The
as
reason
loose as a goose, or yeah.
it goes right through them. So the same reason you don't want to have doves shoved up your sleeves is the reason also why I think birds don't fart. And there's a bird called the Bassian thrush in Australia, which is supposed to be able to scare up insects by farting on them. But from what I've read, that is actually probably not true.
I've been shit on by a lot of birds. There's nothing worse than that.
Yeah.
When you're going along.
Nothing worse.
Oh, there's lots of things worse.
Yeah, but
But like when you get and you just go, oh,
Yeah, a girl was being mean to me once in like 3rd grade and she got shit on while she was like being a bitch. And I was like,
My car is covered in bird shit right now. But when I lived in Sydney, my car was always covered in bat shit. And I'll take bird shit over bat shit all fucking day. Bat shit? Bat shit's black.
Ugh.
You know, like a bird shit, so triple the size and it's fucking black, right?
Well, the bats in Australia are triple the size. Yeah.
No, the shit's triple the size of a bird shit. A bird shit's like a thing, but like a bigger, and it's black, and you're like, fucking bats.
All right, here's
I was doing my when I did my big year in New York, I actually went up. I didn't know better at the time, and I got too close to a tern colony. Their terns are like gulls, and I was getting close, but not too close, you know, and I was getting great looks at them with my binoculars and having a good time. And then one of them came up and sort of flew towards me, and then another and another. And pretty soon I had the whole colony flying at me, and they were shitting all over me. So I walked away covered in shit. It's how they actually scare people. You know, they scare predators away that way. So I learned it firsthand.
Good tactic.
Is the Hitchcock movie, I can't remember what it's called. It was about birds.
Oh, no, not the birds. You're talking about the pigs?
The birds.
Oh, the birds.
The movie The Birds. Is that an accurate thing? My interviewing technique's getting better and better. Do you like that film?
It's just like the Chris Farley sketch.
I do actually really like that film. I don't think it's totally accurate. I was going to tell you before, though, my wife's father, when he was a kid, had a crow that would follow him to school. And the crow somehow, it's sort of like you were saying about your dad with the birds, Jim, like his mother was like Snow White with the birds. Like she would feed them, and chickadees and all the other little birds would come out and land on her tray and on her arms, and she would feed them every day. Anyway, they had this crow, and the crow would actually follow him to school and sit outside his window when he was in class, and then follow him home when he went home, and then he would sleep inside with them. And one day he actually got bullied by a kid, and the crow came down and took a hole out of the kid's head. And my wife didn't believe this until she actually met the guy. And sure enough, he had a scar on his head from where that crow grabbed him.
Good on the crow. Really knows where that kid's bullying.
That's sort of the birds. I mean, if you had a whole bunch of them.
And they're the smart bird. I don't even get that. Aren't they considered? He said parrots, but the smartest birds. Or is it the
parrots are some of the smartest. Kias in New Zealand are always. If you go online and look for a show about, I don't know what it's called, but there's a nature show about Kias. KEA is a kind of New Zealand parrot, and they are unbelievably smart. They can do incredible problem solving and stuff you absolutely
The New Zealand
think.
Prime Minister is one at the moment.
Wow.
They also so parrots and also corvids, so like ravens, crows, and jays are also considered smart. But smart is sort of it's relative, right? You know, I mean, like we often measure birds in terms of intelligence by like if they can do what we can do, if they can talk, or if they can drive a car, or, you know, fill out a tax form. But really,
and can they do
they're
it?
smart enough to do what they need to do where they are. So like, you know, birds would consider us really stupid because we couldn't crack open a nut, or we wouldn't know where to hide our food, or we wouldn't know to look for food, or that we couldn't remember where our food is. Like acorn woodpeckers that can hide 10,000 nuts and go right back to them.
They shouldn't be domesticated, should they? Those little bird cages for like, you know, Tweety bird type of birds. That's not right, is it?
It's not for me.
No.
I mean, I love wild birds and I love seeing them fly. And like, for example, I've seen scarlet macaws, you know, those big birds that you see sometimes as pets, or you see them at the zoo. And I've seen them actually wild flying over the jungles in Belize. And they're so perfect and beautiful where they are. It's just, it doesn't feel right to have them in a cage.
How many?
And also, they live in these huge spaces, and they're sort of built for that, you know. So to put them in a little cage, I'm sure people would argue with me that they're happy in the cage too, but it's not my favorite thing.
No, I don't agree with keeping birds in captivity.
And now they've got those like clear backpacks that people are like, oh, well, my bird's in a cage all day, so I bought this clear bubble backpack so I can take my bird on a hike with me. And it's like, just fucking let the bird out.
Yeah. How many species species are we losing on the regular of birds? Are we got a lot in danger, or what's going on there?
We're we're seeing worldwide across all species, we're actually seeing a severe decline right now. We're in an extinction event right now, which is, largely probably human influenced. The birds are, a lot of birds, there's a few bird species that are endangered and disappearing, but really we're seeing a big drop in numbers of birds. So like in the United States, they just had a study come out in 2019 that we've lost 1 in 4 birds of our population in the last 50 years. So that's almost a 30% decline in total number of birds. So that's a very, very serious issue. And that's actually why I'm working on the project that I'm working on right now, that Terra project I mentioned before, because we think it'll help conserve birds and hopefully reverse that trend a little bit.
All right, let's play a quick game without thinking. Favorite bird and why? Jack.
Bald eagle.
Why?
America.
All right. Kelly, favorite bird and why?
I think I'm going to go penguins. Because
Why?
they're just a distinguished little gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. Favorite bird and why?
I like ospreys
Well, and why?
because they hang out by the water. I like being near the water and they eat fish. Like fish.
Scott, what's your favorite bird and why?
I love a lot of them, but I think hummingbirds are my favorite
Oh yeah, I like hummingbirds too.
because they're such cool little birds. And actually they're special because we only have them here in North and South America. They're nowhere else in the world. And they can do so many cool things. It's just, they're kind of a miracle, those little guys.
I'll go rainbow lorikeet.
Yeah, well, that makes
Because I
sense.
grew up with
Yeah.
it.
These are the fill in the blanks from Jen. A flamingo only eats with its head, and he said correct. With its head blink.
Well, if by correct you mean upside down, then you're right.
Yeah.
They actually turn their heads upside down because their bills are filters, like a baleen whale. They filter plankton. They do the same thing by swishing their bill in the water.
Oh.
Ostriches have the largest blank of any bird. Jim said legs.
Longest legs.
Eggs is the answer. You
Oh,
were
yeah.
supposed to, phonetically, but
You can,
it's
you can eat an ostrich egg. I know you can cook with them. I've seen it on Iron Chef. They bring it out like a fucking dinosaur egg and they crack it and they bake a big omelet or something. Yeah, it's good.
they can feed like 8 people. I actually saw it on what's that travel show? The Amazing Race. They had one where you had to eat a whole ostrich egg, and it was hard because it was like a giant bowl basically of egg.
Yeah.
Sounds
Did
good.
they eat it raw or did they cook it?
No, I cooked it,
Oh, yeah,
but
that's
it
all right.
still looked pretty rough.
Hummingbirds have the largest blank of any bird. He said attitude.
Yeah, that's right.
Proportional brain size.
Ah.
Actually, their brains are like 2.5% of their body weight, which is much more than other birds are. And actually, people, our brain is only, I think it's 0.6%, something like that.
Would you agree
I might be wrong about that, but anyway, yeah, they have a proportionally big brain.
like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if you want to say this after me, like, yes, you're correct, this is this, you can. Would you agree that woodpeckers are cunts?
I'm going to have to defer on that one. I would say
What's with all
I
the
don't
tapping?
personally see them that way.
Why are you tapping all the time? It's not like I've ever seen you finish a bit of construction. You just get up to the tree and go, it's not like I say, oh, you've made a hole. It's like you bash into her a bit, then you fuck off. Pain in the ass, woodpeckers.
A lot of woodpecker drumming is actually for mating. They're actually communicating to other woodpeckers.
Oh,
But
just
I
talk
agree with
to
you.
her.
Go on your house.
That's how they are. Sometimes they do make holes though, and they'll make nests.
Well, and where you guys are, like I said, in California, the acorn woodpeckers can be horrible because they'll drill all kinds of holes in the wood in your house
Bloody
because
pest.
they store nuts in there. They'll drill a hole and then store a nut and drill another hole. So they can have, they're called granaries where they store their nuts. They can have 10,000 nuts in one tree. They'll drill 10,000
Whoa.
holes.
Hashtag woodpeckers are cunts.
Let's get that trending.
Owls blank, let them sneak up on the prey. He said will. Owls will.
Ours will.
Owls will.
It's their feathers. They have specially modified feathers which make them completely silent in flight. So they have these little barbules on there so that when the air passes over, they don't make any noise at all. So even something like a mouse, which has amazing hearing, doesn't hear them coming.
And then when someone does see them, they play it off really well. They go, who?
Me?
Me?
No.
Who?
Just stay with who. Who's good? Who? Yeah. Bird bones are different than ours because they are blank. Jim said hollow.
Yeah, that's right.
You got one
that
right. You got one
And they're
right. Jim.
shorter.
Okay. We had some bird calls, bird sounds, Jim. There's one I want you to guess. There's
Okay.
one I want you to guess because you've had experience with this bird.
Here we go. I'll be right with this.
Yeah. You've seen this. I know you've seen this bird.
Here we go.
Try and
That's
get
the
the first one.
drunk
the
northern
very
girl
first
of
one.
England. I've lost my shoes.
Okay, first one, Jack.
That sounded exactly like it.
One of those has been at your house.
Blue heron.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
All right,
it's a
good.
blue heron.
Wow.
Yeah. I gave him the hint though. I don't think he would have gone otherwise. But
give me another one. Give me
he
another
sent
one.
me a
It
picture. He sent me a
sounded just
picture of a
like-
blue heron standing by his pool one
There's
day,
a
and he
blue
goes,
heron. My son was like, "There's a dinosaur in the backyard." It was tall, and then he started telling his friends it was taller than my dad. It wasn't tall. It was like 4 foot. It was.
"It was big."
It was big.
Yeah. Okay, next one, second one then.
The 12-second one or the 5-second
And then
one?
the second one on there. I don't know how long they are.
I'm not sure what order this been
Just
put in.
play him.
Yeah, just play one.
We'll figure it out. Sorry about that. I just farted. Can you play the sound, please, Jack?
Wow, it's
That's
pretty.
how I fart.
So pretty.
Yeah. Little angels come up and sniff my butthole. That would be tweet. That would be like some type of hummingbird or something.
You know what? I can't hear the sound.
Which one was
It
that?
was the 5-second one.
No, what is the name on it?
It does. I don't have a name here.
What do you mean?
I'm playing the files in the goddamn
He's
email.
been upset about the Dave Grohl thing.
wait,
I've
wait,
never seen this movie. We've broken him.
Let me see if I can.
It should have like a 6-letter thing at the start of the name. And if you tell me what that is, I'll tell you what it is.
I think it was the Boboli. That was the Boboli.
Yes. Bobolink.
The
So
Bob-
that's one of those birds where it's actually using both voice boxes at the same time. So you can hear it doing like 2 songs, one over the other.
Like Michael Bobley.
Okay, one more. Do one more, Jack. Let's see if you can get.
Whoa. I was not expecting that.
I think I know which one this one is without hearing it.
Oh yeah, it's
It's the horny toad bird.
It does sound like that.
It starts with an H.
That's one of my favorites. That's hooded merganser, and that's actually its mating call. So it's like it's a small duck, and it goes.
The hooded merganser.
Merganser.
All right, that's what I call an uncircumcised penis.
Okay.
A hooded merganser.
All right, so this is a part of the show called Dinner Party Facts, where we ask our guest to give us a fact or something interesting about the topic that our listeners can use to impress people of their knowledge of this subject. So what do you got for us?
Yes. Okay. So let's see. Well, I already gave you a couple of facts that I really like, which, for example, there are there are more species of life on Earth than there are stars in the Milky Way. That's a great one. Another one that I really like is there are, well, it depends. Do we want number ones or do we want like life fact ones?
As long as they're about birds, we're sticking something about birds.
Yeah. Don't-
Maybe a humming. We didn't talk a lot about hummingbirds. Anything about hummingbirds is always amazing to me.
Okay. So hummingbirds can fly backwards and upside down. Hummingbirds' wings beat 70 times a minute, and their hearts can beat 1,200 times a minute while they're flying.
Holy shit.
Was that Jack or Jim who made that sound?
Just trying to make a few different noises.
And actually, their resting heartbeat can be like 600 beats a minute.
So resting.
That's like mine.
Yeah, no wonder they don't live very long, these birds.
Very relaxing. Very relaxed.
Oh, okay. So that's another one. How long do birds live? Like the oldest, we actually just found out that there's a albatross that's still laying eggs and she's 70 years old. So
Named Ursula Andrews.
So we have these birds that that can live up to probably, and like you said, Jim, like Paris, they can live up to 100 years old probably.
All right.
So that's a good one.
All right.
And, sorry.
What's that?
Hummingbirds have to eat every 10 to 15 minutes to stay alive.
Yeah. Hummingbirds just alone the facts are like amazing, I think. But yeah.
And they're one of the only birds that can go into torpor, which is basically it's a kind of hibernation. If they did it for longer, it'd be hibernating.
I thought it was an easy college to get into.
They can just turn off basically.
Well, thank you very much, Scott, for being the website is scottwhittle.com, and the book is called Warbler Guide. It's available on Amazon, anywhere you get books. Also, the Warbler Guide app. And then Project Terra, there's a website called Terra, TERRA listens.com. And that's all about that project that you were talking about, that you're developing.
Yeah.
If there's anything else you want to say or about any of those things before you go, or.
Yeah, check out that Project Terra. We're really excited about it. We're going to be doing a Kickstarter for it next month. And basically, we're selling these devices that we hope people will really want to have because they sort of connect you to what's going on outside. But at the same time, we're hoping to create the largest citizen science network that's ever been created so that we can monitor bird migration across the US and also across the world. So check it out. There's a lot of information there.
Very cool.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being on the podcast, Scott. Really appreciate it. If you're ever at a party and someone comes up to you and goes, "Do you want to check out some birds?" You go, "Yeah, I'd like to do that." And then they're people. You go, "Well, I don't know about that." And then you walk away.
That was a weird one. Okay.
Good night, Australia.